Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our second house call of the weekend. We are about to get into your questions. All these questions have come in from the past 4 to 6 weeks or so. Really excited to be able to look at what the new questions are for today. Yesterday, hopefully you were able to tune into the show because we talked about everything from what the most common causes of eczema or psoriasis are. We also talked about food sensitivities and how they can cause all sorts of things such as stomach aches, headaches, nausea, etc. We went over Dr. Sebi and the alkaline electric-based diet. We also talked about how to best wash your produce, what the best produce wash is, a weighted blanket, why does the Fatlocity system, the PM formula, which is called a night formula, work so well in order to help people sleep. And then I talked about other things on top of the CBO protocol that may help with food sensitivities in the long run. So if you did not tune into that show, you can find those answers over at stevencabral.com/1674. stevencabral.com/1674. And if you want to read along with today's questions, you can go to stevencabral.com/1675, but you may have already guessed that. All right, let's get right into today's questions. The first question is coming from Derek. Derek says, "Hi, Dr. Cabral. I'm a registered holistic nutritionist, and I've been listening to your podcast for over 2 years now, and it was very informative and inspiring. I'm just wondering if you use homeopathic medicine at all in your practice and what your thoughts are on it. I have wanted to learn a little bit more about it, but I'm having a hard time finding some good resources on homeopathy. Looking forward to hearing back, and thank you so much for your wealth of knowledge." So, I have studied homeopathy inside and out. A very large portion of my board exam was also on homeopathy. I've probably read 50 to 60 books strictly on homeopathy. I've done actually many podcasts on this. So Derek, if you go to stevencabral.com/podcasts and you type in homeopathy or homeopathic, or even if you just type in homeo, HOMEO with quotations around it, you'll find my shows on it. You'll also find why I no longer use it in my practice. Now, of course, there's some exceptions. I do use some homeopathic-based products. Ossicilla coccinum, I believe, is the name of one. I think is a pretty good product for coughs, colds, flu. If you catch it early enough, there's some good science behind that one. The reason why I don't use homeopathy isn't because I don't believe that it didn't used to work to a greater degree in the early 1900s when 1 out of every 4 doctors was a homeopathic doctor or a homeopath, whatever you would like to call them. So I believe that because of Wi-Fi, 4G, 5G, toxicity in the environment, just 77,000 man-made chemicals, that it's very possible that the actual charge of how homeopathy works in the first place from the different dilutions no longer has the same effect on our body. Regardless of the reason, which I don't know why, I can tell you for sure that homeopathy does not work 100% of the time or even 50% of the time with the people who use it. And I know that a lot of people will disagree with that. Listen, like I said, I have no loyalty to absolutely any form of medicine or healing at all. No loyalty to any diet, only loyalty to helping people heal. That's it. Only one loyalty. And so when I use certain products in my practice, believe me, I'm telling you, I've studied quite a bit. So I would use cell salts, I would use Bach flower remedies, I would use traditional homeopathic-based remedies, and they were a nice add-on, but they never were a game changer. What I do in my practice is work on game changing protocols. That means homeopathy, when you look at it, there are dilutions of certain things, which is certainly needed by the body. But I look at exactly, not kind of what, but exactly the nutrient deficiencies a person has. And that could be anything. It could be amino acids. It could be omegas. It could be vitamins. It could be minerals. It could be electrolytes. Electrolytes are minerals, but you know what I mean. And I replace those. And then I look at the toxicities and I help to remove those. So I'm not against homeopathic-based remedies, but they would never be my go-to. And I would never count on them to work 9 out of 10 times, which you can certainly count on with functional medicine-based formulas. All right, Derek, thank you for writing in. It's still worth studying them, but I don't use them in my practice because when people come to me, they are looking for results, and I take that very seriously. I'm not willing to experiment with what might work. I already know what will work. And that's not from an ego perspective. Remember, I learned this from studying Native American-based herbs. I studied Ayurvedic. I studied traditional Chinese medicine herbs. I studied Hawaiian herbs. I mean, I've studied all of those things and then combining that with people like Linus Pauling, Dr. Saul, orthomolecular-based medicine, right? So that's what I look at. All right, Jenna is up next. I'm curious on your thoughts on using algae or algae oil supplements for omega-3s versus fish oil supplements. What are the pros and cons of each? To my understanding, the fish get their omegas from algae originally, so it makes sense to go straight to the source instead of the middleman, but fish oil seems to be more widely recommended instead of algae. What do you think? All right, Jenna, I can't recommend enough going and listening to my shows on omega-3s and exactly how they work, all right? I'm going to give you a quick answer here, but I would really love you to study the science behind omegas. So this is a well-meaning question by Jenna, but this is one of the issues. And again, like I am pro-plant-based. My diet's 90 to 95% plant-based. If I eat any animal products, it's once per day, and it's a handful of fish or meat or eggs that is basically pastured, grass-fed, or wild, right? So we're talking about, that's for the day, by the way. That's my entire day is a handful, if that, okay? So I'm a believer, and I'm also a believer in the environment, the spiritual reason. Like, believe me, I get it. But you have to understand that people make these arguments all the time, and it is not helping the plant-based or vegan-based community. When people say, well, elephants, I've already talked about this on a podcast, elephants only eat plants, and look how big they are. You have to look at that from a logical perspective. Elephants are built differently than humans, right? We do not have the same digestive tract. They're eating hundreds of pounds of food. I went through all of the details, so I would love you to check out that podcast of how we can't just eat like an elephant. And the other thing is, we're not a fish. We don't process the algae-based oil in the same way. If we did, you better believe I would be recommending algae oil first and foremost because of its sustainability. But here's the issue. Algae oil contains the alpha-linoleic acid, the ALA. Now, I apologize if I'm not saying linoleic correctly. It's ALA. Okay, so that starts from the top. And ALA can be converted to the EPA and DHA that humans need. The problem is in the conversion. It's about 6 to 14% on average. So that means chia seeds would be somewhere around 6%, 8% conversion from ALA all the way down to DHA or EPA. So you'd have to take a whole lot to get there. And flax might be somewhere around 14%. Now, I have used vegan-based omega-3s, and we're working on one right now. The problem is we've been working on it for over a year. There are so many solvents used in these things that they're not healthy for you. So we're trying to create a more natural one. The other thing is this. When you take an algae oil, and so the only reason I know this is because I clinically lab test, and I lab test everybody in my practice. So the only things that made a difference for somebody's omega-3 levels was actually taking a fish oil-based supplement like the one that we offer at Equilibrium Nutrition, because I can verify it on a lab. Like, hey, now your levels are perfect. With an algae oil supplement, you have to go really low on your omega-6s from your diet, and you need about 6 capsules versus 2 for the EPA DHA-based formula. So that's why I do it. So the truth is that we don't absorb it like a fish does. So because we're not fish, right? So we're just not able to absorb it in the same way because our digestive system is different. And also keep in mind that fish eat other fish. So when you look at the highest level omega-3 fish, the majority of them eat other fish. It is the salmon, though, that is a vegetarian-based fish. And so that's an outlier for sure. But it's not that I disagree. I agree. It's just not that cut and dry. And your algae-based omega-3s, although absolutely use those because they're better than nothing, it does not necessarily translate to positive levels for omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. Okay. Again, I've done a whole podcast on all the specifics, how they break down, how ALA converts to EPA, how it converts then to DHA, how DHA has more of a difficulty converting back to EPA, and I give all the specifics. Okay. Aaron's up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. Thanks for sharing so much in your podcast. I'm interested in Ayurveda and wonder if you would consider incorporating more Ayurvedic terms in your analysis. Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to. It looks like, Aaron, you've been reading some of Dr. Vasant Lad's textbooks. I recommended other textbooks, lots of alternate terms to take in. Adding Ayurveda would be the cherry on the top. Would you also consider Dr. Lad's pulse analysis with your topics? It's very complex, and your expertise appreciated. Best regards. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate you writing in. So you know that I am very passionate about Ayurvedic medicine. But the thing is, I want to make sure that people know that what we talk about in this show is grounded in scientific research and science. So when I start to add too many of the Ayurvedic names, for the average listener, I lose them. There's no doubt about that. But do keep in mind, Aaron, that I will be talking about Ayurveda much more in depth, and I don't want to give it all away right now, for those people that are most interested in going deep, and I will. Okay, so no doubt about it, we'll be talking about rasanas and ojas and all that great stuff, right? So no doubt about it, we will get there. We'll talk about Nada Sutri, and trust me, we'll be getting there, but not for a typical show, okay? Because what my goal for every single daily show, you have to understand, is that I need to address an issue right now with people's health, their weight loss, their mindset, any of those things. And then I need to show you why that is, how it differs from normal public opinion and why, what the toxicities or nutrient deficiencies may be, how you could lab test for it if you wanted to, what protocols you could use, and give you actionable real-world takeaways. So I don't do shows for the sake of doing a show and say, hey, look at me, look at all these things that I know. I do it because I want people to learn. I want them to share the information and take real-world actionable steps. So that's why I do it. But I'm going to go in more depth for sure for people that want to know more about it. So I do appreciate your take on it. I love that you're reading the textbooks, and that's why. I've given lots of details on how people can get deeper into Ayurveda if they want. I also have a whole podcast section on Ayurveda. And you can go to stephencabral.com/podcast. Check out the images at the top. Just scroll through until you find the ones on Ayurveda. The last thing I'll say is this. I'll be doing a lot more Ayurvedic podcasts in the future. And also, if you go to integrativehealthpractitioner.org, I do talk a lot more about body types as well inside of the course or the certification training. So, Aaron, thank you for writing in, and I'm glad you're taking your education to that next level. Mary's up. Hello, I've been a listener of the podcast. Thank you for all the information you share. I recently went to see a functional medicine doctor. I'm the mother of 3 boys under age 6, experienced brain fog, short attention span, difficulty with memory, anxiety, increasing irritability. Labs came back normal. Did a brain mapping, shows low beta waves. Other brain waves were only off by a little bit. I'm considering doing neurofeedback. He also suggested supplements and a good diet to support brain health. Everything sounded reasonable, but considering the time and money aspects, I wanted to hear Dr. Cabral's take on neurofeedback. I searched the podcast, but nothing popped up in the search bar. Do you think neurofeedback has benefits? Thank you for your help. Mary, I'm surprised if I've never spoken about neurofeedback. I'm not connected online here. I just want to share with you my new office. I hardwire my computer, and so I'm not connected online right now because I'm sitting in a separate recording station. But here's the thing. I talk about neurofeedback all of the time, but I must talk about it inside of the IHP group. So I am an advocate of neurofeedback for people with trauma, anxiety, overwhelm, depression, pain, anything attached to the nervous system. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of neurofeedback. 6 to 10 sessions, 1 or 2 sessions, not going to happen too much. 6 to 10 sessions, that's a sweet spot. Probably will only need a little bit of maintenance after that. Now, on top of that, remember, it sounds like you ran a lot of blood work with your functional medicine doctor. We don't do functional medicine. I'm not even saying we do functional medicine anymore because that term is too overused now. You have to work with someone that does true at-home lab testing. If you only run your blood work, everything is going to show up in range for the most part. You need to run urine tests, saliva tests, finger prick tests, hair tests, stool tests. Now, you don't need to run all of those, but if you're only running blood work, you're only seeing a fraction of the picture. I did blood work for 2 years. Nothing showed up. Nothing of any significance. I ran at-home lab tests. All of a sudden, gut issues, adrenal issues, blood sugar dysregularity, massive mineral and vitamin imbalances. You won't find that on blood work. So I urge people that working with a doctor that says they do functional medicine doesn't mean they really do what we do, right? It doesn't really mean they do functional medicine. So what I recommend is looking for a practitioner that runs a lot of the same labs that we do. You don't have to run a lab through Equilibrium Nutrition. You can. But you can also look at the labs we run, and you can find out if your practitioner runs them. If they don't, and they only run blood work, I'm telling you right now, you're not going to find your answers. You just won't. Because blood work is only looking at one homeostatic fluid in the body, which is for the most part always balanced. So you better believe you need to look at excretion-based fluids as well, such as stool and urine and hair. And then you can look at saliva for retention-based fluids of what the body's essentially holding on to. One of the best ways to look at hormones and cortisol. So, Mary, thank you for writing in. And I recommend neurofeedback. And I recommend biofeedback, which you can do in your own. Neurofeedback you need to do with a practitioner. Simple brainwave-based activity. And it can be of tremendous benefit. Okay. Let's do one more question from Mo. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I can't begin to tell you how amazing your teachings have been for me and my family. Absolutely amazing and life-changing. You're a gift to all of us. Thank you, Mo. It's quite kind of you to say. Your question is about protein intake. You've spoken many, many times, but I'm not sure if you mentioned anything about someone who's very active. I'm a Pitavada based on your episodes 900, 907, 914, 6'3", 31 years old, 190 pounds, 7 to 9% body fat. Prior to your teaching, I train heavy and intense 4 to 5 times a week. But since I found you in your book and listened to nearly 800 episodes so far, I listen to about 4 to 8 episodes a day. I now train full body heavy, interval, tricep, 1 to 2 times a week, 1 medium light training, and 1 to 2 lighter. I feel great now, not as burnt out as I used to before your teachings. My question is, do I still need to worry, or do I still need to do about half my body weight in protein, or would you look at doing more? I don't get hungry after eating for about 3 hours. I do your famous purple shake every morning. I've calculated my macros to be 110 grams of protein, 220 carbs, 90 fat, 2 flex meals per week. I fast the next day. Thank you again for all you do. The world needs more Dr. Cabrals. All the best, Mo. Thank you, Mo. I don't know if the world needs any more Dr. Cabrals. They need more of other health practitioners, but I don't know if we need more Dr. Cabrals, that's for sure. But thank you. I appreciate that nonetheless. It's very kind. So you're 6'3", and you weigh 190 pounds. Great body fat percentage. Obviously, it's lean. You're doing 110 grams of protein. So you're doing more than half your body weight in protein. So, here's the thing. If you find yourself not able to keep the weight on, if you find yourself fatigued, if you find yourself with more muscle soreness the next day, a lack of energy, you may want to increase the protein. But you very well might be perfect where you are. I mean, you really could be. You look like you're doing great. If you trend downwards, of course, you can add a little bit more. So where would you be? Well, I mean, you could be anywhere between, what would it be? 95 grams of protein would be half your body weight in protein. And then maybe you'd even go up to like 1.5. And so then, well, I shouldn't say that. It would be, I guess, like 0.75. So that would be, let's just use easy math here because I don't want to hurt my brain. So it'd be like 140 grams of protein. So I think that you would fall into that category just fine. I think you'll want to be careful above 20 to 25% of your macros in protein. But Mo, I mean, I just want to reiterate, you sound like you're doing fantastic. And I know you're trying to optimize, so do that for sure. But if it isn't broke and you're doing great, your body feels great, you're recovering, you're sleeping well, not too fatigued, not too sore the next day, keep on keeping on. You're doing great. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into today's Cabral HouseCall, our second one of the weekend. Tomorrow, we'll be bringing you a brand new Mindset and Motivation Monday. I do hope that you'll join me. And, of course, I hope you've had a great weekend. And if this show has been helpful, please do feel free to pass it along to anyone else you believe it could serve. Take care. Before you go, I wanted to ask you this question. What if I could teach you in just a couple of hours how to transform your thyroid, hormones, adrenal, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, weight loss, energy, mood, brain, pregnancy, anti-aging, or many other health-related issues? After 20 years in private practice, after seeing and overseeing 250,000 client appointments, I sincerely feel I have the real-world data and have found the answer you've been searching for. So what I've done is spent hundreds of hours of my own time refining what you need to know in order to uncover your underlying root cause health issues and then begin to rebalance the body and bring it back to a state of robust health and wellness. I'm going to teach you exactly what I do in my private practice so you can understand how you got here and now what you need to do in order to heal. You'll receive all of the important success checklists, protocols, and even ways to customize it to make the program fit your busy life. And you'll get all of this at a fraction of the price. Let me save you the time, money, energy, stress, and frustration of not knowing what to do next. Instead of reading dozens of books on the topic and seeing multiple practitioners, I will condense everything that you need to know in just a few hours of video tutorials that you can watch and listen to anywhere. Together, we will make this healing process an enjoyable one that you can take with you for the rest of your life. I wish you all of the best of health and happiness, and I hope to be able to guide you on your healing journey through my Health Results Accelerators. Simply choose the health imbalance you're currently suffering from, and by the end of today, you'll know what went wrong and how to get well again. I guarantee it. For details, head over now to stevencabral.com/courses.